It's a wild world out there, but some worlds are even wilder. Hi, my name is Tyler Hapney, and you're listening to Dungeons and Dystopias. Thank you for listening.
Hello and welcome back to yet another episode of Dungeons and Dystopias. I'm your game master and host, Tyler Hapney. I have run hundreds of sessions of Cyberpunk RED and Dungeons and Dragons combined, and this podcast is a way for me to reconcile my thoughts on both of those systems. Sorry, I had to clear my throat there. Today, just as has been promised for months at this point, we are going to discuss the new Night City 2045 book. And reading through this book, as I have been over the last little bit, I really think this is something that might need to be broken down into a few episodes. It's so thick, it's so immense that there's a lot to go over. There's just a lot. So wow, I think we're just gonna get kind of started. I mean, we're gonna go through the opening of the book here. It does kind of go over a brief discussion of the Night City history and some of the more specific things that have happened that we weren't exactly aware of beforehand. Just some new stuff that happened in Night City. In particular, like some of the stuff that leading up to 2045, like we didn't know necessarily that the old combat zone had a city council seat, but it does in fact. So that was 2042. So, we get that timeline. We also get explanations for something called security and utility codes, which is important to know going forward. Security codes is basic. It's pretty simple. Security code being exactly how likely something that there is security at a location. If it's a security 8, that means it's pretty likely that there's going to be security around. Then there comes with a faction. Usually it's like a corporation or a gang. And then an intensity is how strong these, this patrol is going to be. So, for instance, Little China is security code 5, guarded by the gold dragons, with hardened light enemies. And that's security code 5. So there's about 50% chance you run into those guys if you're doing something in Little China. Utility code is basically how likely that a location's utilities are functional, like water, power, internet, stuff like that. Obviously, executive zone, utility code 2. And if the utility code is lower than... or the number you roll is lower than the utility code of any given area, that means that those utilities aren't available, which means you want a lower utility code. You want utility code 2, because that means it's pretty low chance that you're not going to have any utilities for a given scene or something of that nature. Now it does continue on through the Night City facts, and like I said, does give us a timeline. I've been pretty sure I've been through the timeline for the most part, through this podcast, so we don't need to go too deep into it, other than to let you know that, yeah, there is some new stuff here, particularly within the Disruptions, Night City timeline. We've got, the actual sort of times when Haywood split into Santo Domingo, North Haywood. Apparently in 2033, there was a 7.3 magnitude earthquake. 2039, the Dorado family claims the reclamation zone and takes over management of NCART and NCTC. Like, we have some more specific things that I think can help lead storylines. However, when it comes to going into every single thing in the timeline, I think that should be best left to people who are actually, interested in getting this book, reading through it a bit more. There's a lot there, and we'd be here for a while if we were going to cover every single bit. But what is important is we now know that Night City has SINs, state identification numbers. What do you need a SIN for? You need a SIN number to get a legal job, to interact with the government in any way, to vote in district elections, to file a suit in court, though you do not need a SIN to have a suit filed against you, or to sign a legally recognized contract. Yeah, so basically they're your social security numbers. just keep that in mind. If you're ever running through Cyberpunk RED, your character's gotta have one of those. And if they work for a corporation, they also have a corporate identification number. They keep track of employment records and professional certifications. So there you go. Getting to Night City, we found out the actual prices for driving to Night City, and the fees that they sort of that the nomad camps will make you pay for safety. So it goes from €100 to €500. Air travel is interesting. We do actually have the prices for tickets to different places. Tickets averaging €500 to €1,000. Private charters for longer trips, including orbital flights, but usually start at €5,000 per passenger. So, pretty expensive. Rail line obviously still works. It's pretty cheap. Water, you do need some transportation from some of the local sea nomads to get across the water. But other than that, we're chilling. We now know how to get around the world of Cyberpunk, which we really only speculated on before. I mean, for the most part, people were just like, well, the water's not safe because of the self-replicating sea mines from the Fourth Corporate War, and air travel is probably just not safe because whatever. And now we actually have mechanical, like, hey, this is how that all works. We also have getting around Night City, which gives us average travel time per district, as well as other different things, prices for taxis and things of that nature. Like, different taxis have different prices. I know, it's crazy. Combat cap is $20 per district traveled and $100 per trips outside of the city. But a pedicab, which is not a combat cab, so obviously does not have as much protection, is only $20 per trip. Red cab, $5 per district traveled. So yeah, really cheap. And you can definitely tell where the quality of service is based off of these prices. And that can help you roleplay these businesses. We have the Night City Council and all of the organizations that held an advisory seat within them. Biotechnica, Continental Brands, Danger Gal, Militech, N54, the Nomad Collective, the Patrolmen's Benevolent Association, Petrochem, Rockland Augmentic, Savoil, Tansen, Trauma Team, Zarafa, and Ziggurat. Yeah, a lot of companies. Not only that, but we also get a look at the law of Night City, the NCPD and the private cops, criminals, the sort of investigation things, the sides of drugs and how drugs are viewed in Night City. We've got the possession and use of most drugs are perfectly legal in Night City. However, combat-rated drugs like Berserker, Black Lace, and Primetime is not legal. Any drug that causes humanity loss or is used in chemical warfare, no. But everything else, apparently fine. We actually have a full process for the justice system. Step 1, you get arrested. No one reads you your rights. You don't have any. You get tossed into the bowels of the Hall of Justice, get interrogated, and then 3 to 5 days later, you're hauled upstairs for arraignment. This is where you're formally charged and bail is set. Bail, when set at all, this is all direct quotes, by the way, is always high and must be paid at the time of arraignment, which means most people cannot afford it. Step 3 is roughly a month after arraignment. You're hauled upstairs again for trial. If someone hasn't already paid for an attorney to represent you, you do it alone. There are no public defenders in Night City, which is rough. And lawyers rarely volunteer their services for free. There is also no insanity plea. And in this society, you are in fact guilty until proven innocent. Over the next 1 to 3 days, the prosecution and defense submit information to the judge, who is Netrunner 10, an artificial intelligence that oversees all civil and criminal cases in Night City. So you're feeding this data into an AI, not even like an actual judge. The judge makes a ruling, usually guilty, and imposes a sentence. There is no appeal process. Then we have a bunch of different fines and punishments. We got fined, detention in the Hall of Justice, detention in state prison, execution, or exile. That's right, you can get exiled from Night City. Some old-fashioned stuff. That's crazy. Here's some, and they have some example punishments for things you can do, and the punishments. Accessing the old net is 1 year of labor. Arson, execution. Assault, 5 years labor or 10 years prison. Burglary or robbery under €500 is $500 fine or 1 year labor. Burglary or robbery over $500 is 5 years prison. Counterfeiting cash, execution. Yeah, let's see. What are some interesting ones here? Intellectual property infringement is 1 to 5 years labor. So don't infringe on someone's copyright or you'll be sent to prison. It's pretty terrible. Obstruction of justice is €100 fine. Or 6 months labor. Let me get that right. You can obstruct justice for $100 in Cyberpunk. That's great. That's amazing. That is so good to hear. Trespassing is 1 year labor. Are you kidding me, dude? What is this? Vandalism is $500 fine or 1 year labor. So, as you can tell, things are a little rough in Night City. It is a dystopia, and wow. Gotta say, this education system sucks. The public services, we also got to look at that. We got to look at how medical care, education, banking, and the 911 service works. Here's a fun little quote from the 911 service call. Medical emergency calls are always routed to REO meat wagons since trauma team clients summon care directly. So yeah, just keep that in mind. If you're calling 911 for an ambulance, you're getting REO, not trauma team. Ziggurat brags that the system has a 97% accuracy rating, but an independent... so this is calls are guaranteed to connect to a specifically programmed self-adaptive artificial intelligence, SAAI, of course, developed by Ziggurat, that will solicit your SIN, current location, and emergency. It will then hang up and send the information along to the appropriate authorities. So, once again, our lives here, in terms of justice and crime, and being able to have an ambulance sent to you, are being allocated by an artificial intelligence, yet again. So, that's not great. Definitely not great. It's not great news at all. It probably doesn't do too well all the time, is what I'm guessing. Banking. If you're legal and posh, you're probably either with First Night City or Eurobank. If you're legal but not posh, you're more likely to do business with smaller banks like Haywood Community or Mestney in the port of Night City. If you aren't legal, you're stuck with payday loan services like Imperial Bank in Old Japantown or your local loan shark. Good luck. That's the exact quote. A lot of these are going to be exact quotes. Medical care. The concept of average lifespan in Night City is a joke. That's an amazing first sentence. The richest citizens of Night City are cared for. Trauma Team Towers, Client-Only Hospital, Cosmos Hospital, or the private suites of City Medical. Anyone else with money to spend visits smaller facilities such as Crisis Medical or Hiroto Miyamoto Memorial. The rest of the population either has to suffer or hope for the rest of the best with their local Ripper Doc. They range in quality from top-notch like Savage Docs to back alley butchers like Sarah Stowe of the Samaritan. Good luck. Once again, another good luck. They want to wish us good luck 2 sections in a row. That's great. Good news is education, they don't wish us good luck. So... the city council abolished the Night City School District in 2031. So already, that's not great. As a result, only the NorCal Military Base, Old Combat Zone, Reclamation Zone, and Santo Domingo operate anything close to traditional public schools. Everywhere else, you're kind of screwed. In other districts, residents can send their children to private academies run by various not-for-profit and for-profit organizations. Or purchase an interactive brain dance program like Sagittarius Scholar, Leapfrog for Cyberpunk, Home learning for at-home education. Most districts offer a subsidy to help citizens afford the interactive brain dance option, though the refund paperwork is often onerous. That means, I hope you're not looking for a refund. Buying the program at a local night market is usually easier. Once again, get your leapfrog through the black market. Way easier. You get a look at utilities and commerce. I should also mention for school, there is a community college located in Mega Building H10 that just opened. And obviously there is Night City University. So, you got 2 college sort of places that you want, a community college and an actual university. Knowing it's Night City, probably none of them are that great. Utility, electricity is, the majority of the city's juice is provided by the PacCon Electric Company via the Jackson Plains Solar Farm, which is, of course, if you've played 2077, I believe, south of the city, though I could be wrong. It could be an entirely different place. Both Petrochem and Solvoil have submitted plans to build a trash-burning power plant. PatCon has offered to build a nuclear power plant inside the city. All three proposals are the subject of endless debate during city council sessions. So that's right there could be a whole campaign storyline. I mean, Petrochem and Salvoil are both gunning for a trash-burning power plant. And PatCon, at the same time, is trying to, I guess, maybe even subvert that a little bit by offering to build a full-on nuclear power plant inside the city. Now, unfortunately, we have played 2077. We have that, and I don't believe there are any nuclear power plants inside of Night City as of 2077. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I would remember if there were any giant nuclear power plants. Obviously, water and sewer is important here, provided by the Coronado Dam, obviously, and multiple desalination plants within the city. Individual companies, including Petrochem and Hydro Subsidium, provide the water, while pipe and sewer infrastructure is maintained by the Night City Department of Water. Cool. There's obviously also garbage collection. It is handled via private contract. Two most prominent players are Coastal Carting and SMKP Hauling. Funny enough, Coastal Carting, subsidiary of Petrochem, and SMKP Hauling, subsidiary of Salvoil, which is probably where they're getting this trash burning idea from. Interesting. There's obviously also the CityNet. We've talked about Ziggurat before. There is the media. So we've got Net54, WNS, DMS. Yeah, you get the idea. It's either Net54 or WNS. Radio. We get all the radio stations here. That are at least the ones that are important. You get Net54, which is Corporate Synth Pop, and Net54 News Blips. Nomad Presents Radio, News, Culture, and Information. Royal Blue, which is the same as it is 2077. Jazz. Night FM is still just electronic beats. NCU Radio is local bands and experimental music. Fever Dream is Reckoner sermons and melodic techno. Very cool, some Disco Elysium type stuff. Fever Dream, we already did that. Shiv FM is pop techno with live DJ parties. Gun Gala's anime soundtracks and related talk shows. WNS is corporate pop and WNS News Blips. Killzone, hard rock, rare singles, and imported music. The Dirge is the same as it is in 2077, only it has zoner speeches. Sangre y Arena is Spanish language. Rancho Coronado. KCP2 is where your chromatic rock is, and Moro Rock is actually for classic rock and neo-African pop, instead of the sort of more punky kind of sound it has in 2077. And then the counting station is 108.0. It's just a number, or it's a number counting station. Various patterns and languages. No one knows what it's for. And then there's also a collection of micro stations that usually just run a few city blocks. And then pirate radio stations for people who, hijack a signal and play their own music. All sorts of things. And then we get to talk a little bit about the data pool and the scream sheets. And we already know a little bit about those things. Scream sheets are your newspapers. You can get Night City Today News, which is what I usually use when I make scream sheets. And then the augmented optic, which is new. I haven't really heard too much about this one, but it appeals to younger readers. And then we have discussion about the data pool. We use the term CityNet and data pool interchangeably. Direct quote. There is technically a difference between the two. CityNets are the physical networks. Data pool is a collection of information and media shared on a CityNet. So, there you go. That's sort of your difference. And that is also going to be our first section of the new Night City book. We didn't even get to a metaphorical monster of the week. Well, we can, technically, in these last few minutes. And who am I going to go for? Well, I'm looking at the security codes here and all of these new crews. And I want to talk about the Gold Dragons. I don't think we've talked about the Gold Dragons. The Gold Dragons are situated in Little China. They are essentially the local triad that operate as the security for the whole of the Little China district. We actually have some more information on the Gold Dragons. Their leader is Edwina Eddie Singh. They hang out at the Garden of Earthly Delights, Guanbo Tower, Lingpo Imports Wreckage, and a place called The Seat. All of this, a few of these you've been able to see in past missions. Guangbo Tower, at the very least, is from the first Tales from the Red missions. The Gold Dragons were elevated by their patron, David Lingpo, from street corner ruffians to deputized law enforcement in Little China. So they're a triad booster gang that essentially just got a lot of money and became the de facto security for the combat zone, Little China. What do they like to wear? Well, jump boosters and grip feet are common implants here. They like to use SMGs when they're engaging in a gunfight, and rumor has it, they also have heavily modified cyber optic implants, allowing Ling Po, the guy sort of in charge, the money man here, to observe his territory through the eyes of the gold dragons. So that's really interesting. I've used the gold dragons before. I actually have one of my players runs a gang of his own, and they're actually at a sort of a deal with the gold dragons. So it's always nice to hear more about these types of gangs. And you're never gonna guess, but next time we cover Cyberpunk, that's what we're gonna be talking about, because that's the next part of the book. So I'm excited to get into some of these new gangs that have showed up in 2045, and I cannot wait for next week where we talk a little bit more about Dungeons & Dragons. As for now, I'm your Game Master and host, Tyler Happy. Thank you so much for listening to Dungeons & Dystopias, and I will see you next week.